council meeting for this week. I certainly want to welcome all of our guests momentarily and remind everyone that this meeting is being. I want to remind everyone, good morning, everybody. Welcome. And also want to remind everyone that the meeting is being live streamed, so conduct yourselves accordingly. Again, with the
Is your mic on again?
red light is on.
Okay.
So
Let me try my mic. That's better.
there you go. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. We'll proceed now with the beginning of the meeting. Reminding everyone again that the meeting is being live streamed, so please conduct yourselves accordingly. I'll start with the conflict advisory statement as always. Members of the council are hereby advised of their duty under the State Government Ethics Acts to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts, and are instructed to refrain from participating in any matter coming before this council with respect to which there is a conflict of interest or the appearance thereof. Please note any conflict at the appropriate time. And we will proceed with the agenda, taking a few matters perhaps out of order, but right now I'll turn it over to Catherine Fry for a moment of reflection. Catherine.
Thank you. Everyone just take a moment, bow your heads, close your eyes. As we stand at this moment that's a brink of change, may we all embrace this transition with courage and confidence. May we all remember that true leadership shines brightest in times of uncertainty. May our dedication to justice and integrity guide us forward, inspiring all of those around us to adapt and thrive. As we navigate our new paths, may we all continue to be pillars of strength, fostering collaboration and innovation in the legal profession. Now we wish you all the wisdom and resilience that is needed to lead in the coming days with purpose and grace. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. We would like to recognize our special guest this morning. Obviously, Chief Justice Paula Newby is here. Welcome, Chief Justice. And his Chief of Staff, Liz Henderson Mashburn, is here. Liz, good morning. I saw Kim Stogner, the Bar Association President, and good morning. I believe I saw Jason Hensley. Jason, good morning as well. Jason is the ED of the Bar Association. Is there any other guests that have come in? Any others that have come in since we started? Okay. Thank you all for joining us. We also want to welcome what I understand to be our 3 NC State Bar Pro Bono Student Award winners, who we will recognize and honor later in the program, but thank you all for joining us as well. This is where I'll take one matter out of order with the Chief's permission. The report of council will be given now. Carmen Bannon has to attend an important court meeting that I'm very interested in, quite frankly, and she must leave the meeting to do so, to work with our counsel in that matter at the federal court level. So, Carmen.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I assumed that I was being asked to go first so I could model the preferred duration of reports to this council. So if you all are ready, the report of the activities of the Office of Counsel during the, where are we now, 3rd quarter of 2004 is in your materials, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
So no questions, go forth and do good. Mr. Chief Justice, please come up and give us your remarks, please.
Thank you, and I will not be brief. Common way to set me up for failure. When I look out on this group, I am just so humbled by your willingness to serve. My wife Macon and I have been to all 100 counties. We're on our second tour. We actually go to every courthouse when eCourts is rolled out, just to encourage the staff there, but also to kind of get a sense of how things are going in general, but specifically with eCourts. And I'm reminded of the strength of North Carolina in its diversity. Y'all represent that. I do think it's interesting, though, and I want you to bear in mind that those of you that are young, you can see this. For those of you my age, this is a map of North Carolina. There are 2 counties where 2/3 of the lawyers live. In 98 counties, we have 1/3 of the lawyers. And I know that this group is reflective of the fact that so many lawyers reside in Wake and Mecklenburg. But I encourage you, and I think you would agree with me, having served here, just how important the voices of all 100 counties are. So I just mentioned that as we will talk in just a minute about some of the challenges that we have. But as I look at this distinguished group of folks that are retiring, y'all will leave a void. Yes, time marches on and others will come in and fill your positions. But we thank you for your sacrifice of service. But frankly, having again been at the 50-year lawyer lunch yesterday, I was reminded how few things that we do in our careers and our lives really stand out, frankly. And one of those will be your service on the state bar. You have been recognized by your peers. There's no higher recognition than the respect shown to each of you by your peers, other practicing attorneys, to say, I want you to represent me in the privilege that we have of being self-regulated. This organization, the State Bar, is here to protect the public, but it's also here to protect our profession. And as long as you do a good job with that, public trust and confidence will continue to be where it should be with regard to our justice system. So I thank you for difficult, challenging, but such a vital role that each of you play. We've never seen a tragedy like we have had in Western North Carolina. Yes, we've had bad storms in the past, but to see a whole region undergo complete transformation, to see towns wiped out. I started practicing in Asheville, and literally there are just about places that you can say, you just can't get there from here. I mean, there's usually one road. If that one road gets washed out, how do those people survive? One of the stories I was told by one of my judicial leaders was he had gotten a phone call from somebody who had walked from their house, a complete subdivision, was isolated for 10 days, 2 weeks, because the connector road had been washed out, and there was a river there, and they couldn't get over the river, and they were having trouble getting cell service. So it took them a long time to figure out how to communicate. But I am so amazed at the resilience that we've seen, the creativity. The day after Helene came through, Saturday morning, I get a phone call from my chief judge in Asheville, Calvin Hill. Saturday morning, he's like, hey chief, just want you to know we're working. I'm like, wow, I'm amazed you can call. He said, I'm at the jail. There's more than 500 inmates in our jail, and we don't have water or sewer. So I'm having emergency hearings for all 500 to figure out which ones we can safely release to the community. Because, and oh, by the way, can you help the sheriff get the porta potties he needs? Like, yeah, we can do that. So, of course, I then call my director of voice over at AOC. I'm saying, Ryan, we got to have some porta potties. We need them at the Buncombe County Jail. And while we're doing it, might as well get some for the courthouse too. And he said, yeah, I was just on the phone ordering porta potties and satellite service. It's like, who would ever think the same day you're having to order satellite service because the internet ground stuff has been washed out. So we're having to get satellite service and at the same time the porta potties. And needless to say, from a health department standpoint, from a fire code standpoint, multiple challenges in Buncombe County that senior resident Alan Thornburg and Chief Judge Calvin Hill worked through. I was amazed. Madison County, courthouse right there, beautiful, scenic, and it's washed out. Unfortunately for them, we didn't have e-courts there yet, so all their records were paper records. So AOC is Saturday starting to pull those mud-soaked records out and going into how do we save these things. My staff, Liz and others, did such a great job daily being in communication with all the judges throughout Western North Carolina. What do y'all need? We issued emergency orders. And I said, let's be over-inclusive, not under-inclusive. But y'all know that. Y'all being the senior residents, the chief district court judges, the clerks. You know what you need. We want to use our emergency orders appropriately. Tell us what we can do. So we issued a couple of emergency orders. And I was surprised, frankly, that last week, the last emergency order expired because to a person, the clerks, the judges all said, we don't need it anymore. Those of the courts that had Odyssey were able to conduct a lot of business in terms of continuances, in terms of notifying people, judges, lawyers, others about what the court limited schedule would be. I'm going to talk about e-courts in a little bit, but that certainly is an incredible positive that has come out of that. Let me say thank you to your organization. Y'all reached out to me, the Supreme Court, about doing an emergency order with regard to out-of-state attorneys coming in to help. The low-income folks in Western North Carolina know how to access what relief may be available for them and to help them with other issues. I'm going to steal some thunder probably, but folks, the most before that had ever responded to that was about 60. This time, over 500 out-of-state attorneys have taken advantage of this program. And my hat's off again to the staff here who had to process these applications. And say what you want to about the Republic of Texas, but they're the ones who are showing up big. We have some friends from Texas who have pushed hard with their bar to say, hey, North Carolina needs us. Let's show up for them. So we really appreciate those things. We here, and perhaps there's some counselors here that made it down from the West. It's just hard for us to truly appreciate the changed geographic landscape that has occurred in Western North Carolina. We should continue to keep them in our prayers, but talk about a resilient community. I'm so encouraged and impressed, but thank y'all. I want to recognize and express my appreciation to the Bar Association. I got my e-bar, and other than looking at the obituaries to be sure I'm not listed, I also look at other things that they send out. And they send out disaster legal services volunteer needed at Western North Carolina FEMA centers. Thank you, Kim, Jason, thank y'all for that announcement. And please spread that word among your practitioners. It is time for us to step up and help these folks that truly are in need. let me talk a little bit about some of the areas of leadership in North Carolina that we are nationwide. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania reached out to me and asked us to conduct some training for them with adverse childhood experience, adverse community environments. As I've talked before, 98% of people in prison have a high ACEs score. That doesn't mean if you have a high adverse childhood experience score, you're going to prison. There are strategies of resiliency, okay? But the folks that end up committing violent crimes have high ACEs scores. Well, what are we going to do with that? How do we address it? Well, we continue to explore different ways about how do we help these young people who have witnessed or been victims of, which is equal, okay? If you're a young kid and you watch somebody you love kill somebody you love, okay, you're a victim. How do we help these young people access the services that are available to ensure that they're not one of those who come back into the system? And we're continuing to work on that. But I was certainly humbled that Pennsylvania was recognizing, hey, North Carolina is a leader in this innovation, and we want to come down and be trained about, and how do we train our judges to be sensitive about what this might look like when folks with high ACEs scores, young people with high ACEs scores, show up in our courtrooms. Another area, artificial intelligence, okay? I guess my thought was, well, artificial intelligence is better than none at all, but apparently that may not be correct. We have a leader in our state, Senior Resident Marty McGee over in Cabarrus County, has written the rule that all the other districts in the state are trying to copy with regard to the use of artificial intelligence with regard to the filings in his judicial district. So Marty really is asked to go speak all over the country with regard to that. And again, it's something as a leader of the North Carolina Judicial Branch I'm very proud of. Legal deserts, that continues to be a huge issue for us, not having enough attorneys on both sides of the V. We're continuing to address that in every way that we know how. The State Bar has been an invaluable partner as we've continued to try to do that. Currently, what I'm asking for, is a extension of the third-year practice rule. Right now, you've got to be a student. So think about it this way. You were eligible to practice under supervision in May because you're a student. You study for the bar, assuming, generally you're improving your knowledge of the law. And then, for whatever reason, you don't pass the bar, and now you can't do anything law-related in terms of being in a courtroom under the supervision of an attorney. I have heard horror stories related to me by public defenders and district attorneys who had hired individuals in some of our legal desert areas, and for a variety of reasons, and we all have friends who took the bar and didn't pass it the first time they did it. And for a variety of reasons, these folks don't pass the bar, and now they're stuck and can't, because of the state regulations, the public defender's offices and the DA's offices can't pay them because they can't practice under some type of extended third-year practice rule. And again, I've been working with your State Bar leadership to try to figure out what can we do to allow these individuals to practice maybe for another year as they're hopefully going to take and pass the February bar or take the bar the next summer. E-courts. I am so proud of all the e-court folks and the clerks, the DAs, public defenders, senior residents, and Superior Court judges, chiefs, and district court judges. We just rolled out in Central Piedmont, where we had 11 counties that we rolled out, and it went as smoothly as I think possible. A lot of it has to do with leadership. Y'all, among the leaders of the bar, please help us as we seek to encourage folks that we know that change is tough. So the word that I always get from deputy and assistant clerks is tell everybody to be patient and tell them to be kind. And so for those of you that have e-courts already, thank you. For those of you that don't yet, it's coming. Next year, we're going to roll out 51, so we're in 49 counties, but obviously we have more than 50% of the population covered. It's amazing how many people are accessing remotely their case files and doing the things, access to justice things that are so important. So thank y'all for your leadership. By the end of 2025, all 100 counties will be up on this same system. Another positive, well, two more positives I'm hearing. One is judges should be better prepared because they don't have to go to a courthouse and pull a physical file. I'm seeing Judge Bell shake her head there. She was working on several orders last time I saw her at a state bar meeting. So if you see her seem a little bit preoccupied, she maybe needs to get an order file today, but that's good. You're doing your job there. So as we roll that out, the other thing that I think is a real positive is that not only are judges able to access those files and figure those things out, but it's an opportunity for us to bring the rules in every county into conformity. A little more uniformity. I'm sure those of you that have a multi-county practice are used to clerks in different counties doing stuff a different way. And we're trying to let everybody exercise the best practice with regard to this. I have all kinds of working groups from all the different stakeholders, and we are meeting quarterly with this Fortune 500 company, their top executives, saying we need to change this, we need you to tweak that, will your system do this? And what's really helped me is I was told by one of my staffers, and this really helped me, what we have, eCourts, Odyssey, is a great document retention system, okay? Think Helene and all those documents being set. Right now, it's not a good case management system. So it wasn't designed for that, and we're trying to make it so it's more user-friendly from that perspective, helping me and the rest of my staff as we try to be sure that our resources, judicial resources, court resources, are going in the right direction. We've got some shortages with court reporters. Those of you that are regularly in court, I know Judge Foster's going to shake his head on this one. We got problems with having enough court reporters. We got problems with having enough translators and translators right place, right time. We're working on all those things, all those fronts. We continue to invite you to let us know what the problems may be. I've got some serious backlogs in some of the counties, and I'm aggressively addressing those as best I can, given the fact that everybody that I work with is a constitutional officer, and I have all the responsibility, none of the authority, but don't tell them that. So anyway, we're looking forward for our e-courts. Lastly, civics education. Those of you at the dinner last night, we saw a great demonstration of civic education. Matt, thank you for bringing that group to us and allowing them to demonstrate the depth of civic education that goes on with the mock trial program. We have a lot of 250ths coming up. Question for you. Where was the first meeting of a representative governmental body, a body made up of representatives of the people and not the king and his government? And where was the first large activist group of women protesting a political decision. Both of those would be North Carolina. You got the answer to this. That's good. One would be in New Bern in August of 1774 with Tryon's Palace, the picture of governmental tyranny, and Royal Governor Martin sitting there having declined to call the legislature into session. The first provincial Congress met 2 blocks away, where? In the county courthouse. That's where the county business, that's where the public business takes place. They elected 3 delegates to the Continental Congress, and they set out other aspects of things that they thought were important, including banning the importation of slaves. So, not the best, but at least a start. In October, that was August 1774. In October 1774, these ladies, having heard of the destruction of a whole bunch of tea up in Boston Harbor, said, well, we don't want to destroy the tea, we're just not going to buy it. So they met in Edenton. 51 ladies met and pledged themselves, I would argue, much like their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honor, that they weren't going to buy English tea because it was wrong for the government of England to tax them, us, without representation. October 1774. This is the 250th anniversary of some stuff, and my favorite is state flag, top yellow ribbon, May 20, 1775. What is that? The Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Oh, Chief Justice, you don't really believe that. Yes, I do, okay? So I'm going to come out boldly that I believe the MacDec truly happened on May the 20th, 1775. But if you don't believe me, wait, because we're developing a moot court problem that will be done and administered through the mock trial program, whose finals will be on May the 20th of 2025 in Charlotte as part of their MacDec celebration. Hopefully to be televised statewide, UNC-TV, if you're listening, please. But to showcase for all the people in North Carolina the importance of our being the first state to declare independence. Now, those of you from Mecklenburg County, I know you're still independent. I got that, okay? Don't have to remind me of that. But anyway, I'm so excited about the mock trial program. Thank you all for all you're doing. Folks, it's a great opportunity, and I'm with the leader of the program who said, Mr. Smith said last night, let's make it all 100 counties. And we certainly should be able to do that. Students from all 100 counties should participate. A frequent recurrence to fundamental principles, absolutely necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty. It's one person at a time, one generation at a time, that we remind them how blessed we are. Folks, we're all part of our constitutional mandate that justice is to be administered without favor, denial, delay. I thank you. I thank you for all that you do to ensure that these constitutional mandates are met. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. I'd now like to recognize the NC Bar Association President Kim Stogner to come up and share some remarks with us.
Good morning. Warm greetings from the North Carolina Bar Association, and congratulations again to President Smith and Executive Director Peter Volak as they begin their new leadership positions. It was a lovely celebration last night, and I appreciated being a part of it. Thank you, Chief Justice Newby, regarding your remarks on disaster legal services. This is important work that lawyers lawyers are engaging in right now. We are always stronger and more effective as a profession when we collaborate and come together, just as lawyers across the state are doing now, and volunteering to assist with disaster legal services in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene and its devastation on our western counties. The North Carolina Bar Association Young Lawyers Division coordinates with North Carolina Disaster Legal Services effort in partnership with FEMA and the ABA Young Lawyers Division. With the support of the North Carolina Bar Foundation and the Paralegal Division, they work with Legal Aid of North Carolina to recruit, train, and engage pro bono volunteers to assist with issues including insurance and FEMA claims, landlord-tenant issues, replacement of damaged or lost estate planning documents, consumer fraud, bankruptcy, and other legal matters related to disaster assistance. To date, we have over 1,500 volunteers who have signed up to provide disaster legal services assistance, including approximately 100 law students and 100 paralegals. Lawyers are uniquely situated to provide essential pro bono legal services to these storm-affected communities. This effort by our profession will represent our commitment to compassionate pursuit of justice for all. Please consider volunteering to assist with disaster legal services efforts, and I believe you have all the information you need to sign up at your place. Next, I'd like to mention that the North Carolina Bar Foundation Open Door Fund and Fellowship demonstrates our ongoing commitment to address inequities in access to legal services and participation in the legal profession experienced by historically excluded or disadvantaged individuals and communities in North Carolina. Our goal of raising $1 million by June 30th of 2025 will secure the Open Door Fund and provide for the Open Door Fellowship for many years to come. We are about a year and a half into this effort. We just announced our public phase, and we've currently raised approximately $840,000 towards this goal. The Open Door Fellowship, which was launched in 2023, is a unique competitive opportunity for first-year North Carolina law students. Open Door Fellows gain valuable hands-on legal experience through a 10-week paid internship with an employer host arranged through the North Carolina Bar Association. Judicial forums. The North Carolina Bar Association, in partnership with PBS, formerly UNC-TV, have recorded judicial candidate forums to encourage education of the public in electing judicial candidates. All 8 candidates seeking election to the North Carolina Supreme Court and the North Carolina Court of Appeals have participated in these forums. Kelly McCullen of PBS North Carolina conducted the interviews. The interviews can be viewed at a link on our North Carolina Bar Association website, and I would encourage all of you to please share this link of these forums with your friends, colleagues, and neighbors, especially those who reach out to you this time of the year to ask about your recommendations on voting for the judiciary. Chief Justice mentioned e-courts. Our e-court task force continues to work with the AOC to try to make the e-court process as effective as possible for lawyers, and that continues to go well. We are also working on our Judicial Learning Center that we hope to have as a public resource for education, civic education. This will be an online resource. Finally, I'd like to announce that our annual meeting will be held in Asheville, North Carolina, June 26th through the 28th at the Renaissance Hotel in downtown Asheville. I hope many of you will plan to attend. Marcy told me last night that the best gift that I could give you is to be brief, so I hope I've accomplished that.
Thank you, Kim. Moving on with the agenda, we'll now recognize the councils who are retiring at the end of this opportunity to address us at the council's dinner on Wednesday night, and so I will not allow them to give us another 7 months. Warren Savage, I think. I would like to read the names and thank them once again for their service to this body. And they all served between 2016 and 2024. Between is what I say. That would be correct.
Second.
Ashley Campbell, Walter Brock, Warren Savage, Eddie Winstead, David Allen, Robert Bobby Bowers, Evan Rawls, Ligon Bundy, Kevin Williams, Andrea Capua, Alan LaCroix, Clark Bell, and Anna Hamlet. Let's give them a round of applause. I'd now like to make a presentation to the Student Pro Bono Service Awards. I will recognize each of the students and ask them to come up. The Pro Bono Student Awards, it sort of recognizes the Pro Bono service of the following recent law graduates, and that service has been exemplary. There's no doubt that each of these young lawyers will continue to be and to make a big impact on our profession and on their communities. I will invite each student to come up to the front of the room as I call their name and to the podium, and Alice will present them with their certificate. And I apologize, as I did yesterday after the luncheon. If I mispronounce your name, please forgive me. Kelly Cramarate. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Kelly, a recent recipient of the Juris Doctorate degree from Campbell University School of Law, led the Immigrant and Refugee Rights Project at Campbell Law to a new level of success. In her tenure as project manager, Kelly hosted 6 clinics at the law school to help Ukrainian refugees, provided students with information to attend 2 additional clinics hosted by other law schools, and instilled other Campbell Law students with a passion to serve those who may look and sound different. After graduation, Kelly intends to continue to serve the public, specifically immigrants and refugees from around the world. Kelly has an innate sense of service, exemplified by her continuous positive attitude and determination to motivate her peers to serve those in need. Through her clinic work, Kelly has helped to reunite families, extend visas, and provide a sense of belonging for those who have been cast aside. Campbell Law is grateful to Kelly for her exceptional service during her 3 years at the law school. Thank you. All right. Anna Marie. Oh, okay. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Anna Marie Schaffsmott. I hope I've gotten that as close as I can get it. During her time at Duke Law, Hannah completed completed more than 1,000 hours of pro bono service, including service as the executive director of the Duke Immigrant and Refugee Pro Bono Project. As executive director of the project, she helped organize asylum clinics, DACA renewals, and managed over 100 pro bono student volunteers. She also organized a spring break pro bono trip with the Southern Poverty Law Center to an immigration detention center in Georgia. Additionally, Hannah spent 2 years as a guardian ad litem in Durham County, serving abused and neglected children by advocating for their best interest in court. She participated in day-long pro bono clinics, helping marginalized clients with criminal records expunctions and child custody cases. Hannah also completed 2 semesters with the Duke Law Immigrant Rights Clinic and served as editor-in-chief for the Duke Journal of Comparative and International Law. For the next 2 years, Hannah will be working as an Immigrant Justice Court Legal Fellow with Justice Neighbors in Washington, D.C., where she will be defending unaccompanied children in removal proceedings. After her postgraduate fellowship, Hannah will clerk in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask Siobhan Petraka. I got that correct. I apologize if I didn't. Come on. Ms. Petraka is an unassuming, natural, selfless leader who quietly but significantly contributed to making Elon School of Law and Greensboro better. A colleague observed, sometimes being a leader isn't stepping up in front of a crowd, but it is in the between moments that can really make a difference in someone's life. One avenue to making a difference has been Ms. Petraka's role on the Pro Bono Board, serving as the student outreach coordinator. Of her work there, one colleague said, I don't think anybody does more under the banner of Pro Bono, both in a personal and leadership capacity. She cares deeply about Elon and the broader community. Siobhan significantly contributed to People Not Property, a project which law students transcribe deeds, and deeds of slave ownership, where she personally worked to transcribe dozens of slave deeds, also training other students to do the work. She applies her Elon Law education to, quote unquote, aid those who may be less fortunate and those who may not understand the various legal avenues of relief they can seek, end quote. In her work as a summer internship with the MLK Legal Aid, she assisted attorneys in the Economic Justice Initiative to help indigent clients. She served a residency in the Education Department of the North Carolina Department of Justice, where she assisted with criminal cases involving juveniles and with cases against public universities in North Carolina. She interned with Justice David Friedman of the New York State Appellate Department, First Division, served as Elon Law's Class of 2023 Student Bar Association representative, and was an Innocent Project volunteer. Her ability to encourage other students, focus on her education, and give back to the local community through pro bono and community service made a tremendous impact on both Elon Law and the Greensboro communities. Thank you very much. There were three additional graduates recent graduates who were not able to attend today's presentation. But we know that they have provided also exemplary pro bono service and will continue to do work throughout their careers at North Carolina Central University School of Law, Jackson Lanier, at UNC School of Law, Alex Gooden, and at Wake Forest Law, Lindsay Christine Arneson. Thank you all for that. I now ask Mary Irvine to come up and give us a report from IO.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit with you all this morning. I missed yesterday evening's festivities as I was trick-or-treating with the little ones, but I understand that it was a celebration fitting of the new officers, and congratulations on all of you. So as it is the annual meeting of the State Bar, I am going to share a little bit about what our program did in 2023 and provide that 2023 annual report. As you all know, North Carolina Interest on Lawyers Trust Accounts works to provide access to justice by using the interest that's earned on lawyers' trust accounts to fund access to justice through support for civil legal aid and other administration of justice efforts. We do this in partnership with every lawyer across the state, as well as a number of other stakeholder organizations. So a little bit about our work in 2023. 2023 certainly kept our staff and board team busy, and I will give you just a snapshot. First, we administered about $6.1 million in regular grants during calendar year 2023. This is our regular annual process that supports a number of different categories, including direct civil legal services, programs that help private attorneys to be engaged in pro bono work, as well as other administration of justice efforts. And just for context, I'll share when I started in 2014 with IOLTA in sort of a shared role with the Access to Justice Commission, our funding at IOLTA at that time, we were supporting half the number of organizations that we engage with now, and it was just about 20% of the funding that we have now. So with the economic conditions, we have a lot more availability of grants to connect with organizations across the state and to provide more deeply financial support for these kinds of efforts. We also administered about $840,000 in state funding. These are funds that come to the North Carolina State Bar under the Domestic Violence Victim Assistance Act, and by statute are directed both to PISA Legal Services and Legal Aid of North Carolina to allow them to serve victims of domestic violence. Another item that we pursued in 2023 was reestablishing the Public Interest Internship Program. This was an internship program that, unfortunately, due to decreased income in the early 2000s, we had to stop funding, stop providing the support for law students, but saw an opportunity to re-engage in this area. And it has been great to, again, build relationships with the law schools, with law students, with stakeholders across the state who are interested in bringing students into their offices during the summer, but otherwise would not have the funds as public interest organizations to be able to pay those students. So we reestablished that program in December and had our first class of students in 2024 pursue their internships with our support. Another highlight of last year was celebrating our 40th anniversary after our inception in 1983, and we worked to do that in 2023 by connecting with former members of our board, with grantees, with judges, with other stakeholders to share a little bit more about the work and the impacts that we've been able to have during the past 40 years. Another highlight of 2023 was surpassing the prior peak in IOLTA income. So at $15.9 million by year's end, IOLTA, again in 2023, broke our record income. These increases in income, as you know, in recent years are related to the high interest rate environment, the economic conditions more generally, as well as the compliance efforts that we've pursued with financial institutions across the state. Of course, the board knows well that we are not going to stay at this high peak where we are at the moment. So the board is really focused on both last year as well as this year, ways to invest in our mission at the present time with the funds that we have available, while also looking forward to how we can set funds aside for future years when that income will stabilize. Another thing that we were able to do last year was provide some out-of-cycle funding, and this was specifically to support gaps that were identified in the legal needs assessment. Those grants are 2-year grants and they're ongoing, so we look forward to coming back at a future time to share a little bit more about the work that grantees were able to accomplish through this special opportunity that was targeted to family law, services for immigrants, coordinated intake, and communications and outreach efforts. So to speak a little bit about the current year, our 2025 grant cycle is underway. We accepted applications for 2025 funding during July and August. That application period is now closed, and we have requests that total more than $16.3 million. Staff have reviewed and prepared those applications for board review, and the board has started their process in grant committees that met this week. We will look forward to sharing more about those awards after the board's meeting in early December. The other highlight that I'll share, again, goes back to reestablishing the public interest internship program. On September 6th, we were able to bring here to the State Bar many of the students that participated in that summer public interest internship program, as well as students that worked with the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism through their Legal Oasis internship, and had a really great conversation about their work this summer, about ways that we can continue to be supportive of them, about other things that the law schools can do to make public interest work, particularly in rural communities, feasible for students who are in law school. You all would be really proud of those students and their work. They showed up with a lot of passion, and it was great to connect with them and hear more about their ideas and know that they will be coming behind all of us very shortly in the profession. And the only other piece that I'll touch on, and a number of folks have shared a little bit this morning, pretty quickly after Hurricane Helene, the board met to try to think about how, from our position, IALTA could be supportive of the folks in the western part of the state. We heard very quickly in the days after the hurricane hit from our grantee partners that are in that area about the staff that they were still trying to locate, about the staff that had been forced to relocate, about staff members who would not be able to return to homes that had been severely damaged by flooding. So the first thing that the board agreed to do is make an initial grant to 2 grantee organizations, Legal Aid of North Carolina and Pisgah Legal Services, and that's really for the purpose of stabilizing, providing some support to their employees to stabilize their staff. We know folks cannot show up and be supportive of those in the community until they themselves have what they need to be stable. So that was the goal of that initial round of grants, but we also have another opportunity that's open right now, and we will be able to support a number of different organizations for more programmatic disaster legal services projects. As Kim shared, I hope you'll reference the flyer. This was created for the Access to Justice Committee's presentation on Wednesday. You all, if you were present, heard from a number of the organizations that are participating in what is truly a collaborative effort led by the ABA, the North Carolina Bar Association, YLD, the Bar Foundation, Legal Aid of North Carolina, and Pisgah Legal Services. We know everyone is looking for ways to contribute, and I think similar to what Kim shared, there are lots of opportunities to do that through volunteering, through donating, and also through just being patient and acknowledging that the process is going to be long and the folks will need our support for time to come. So we hope you'll be in it for the long haul, along with those organizations that are hard at work to do that. This is just a quick plug for Pro Bono Go. That's also a place where you will be able to find disaster relief related pro bono opportunities, as well as other pro bono opportunities to help folks in North Carolina. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. would ask Warren Savage to come up and give us the report of the lab board.
Right, thank you very much. Once again, I'm proud to be up here as spokesperson, chair today for the lab board. I have a short report, but I think important. First start off by referring you to the annual report that is now online for the 23-24 year. You'll note in that report that there are 574 open files. If you look closely at the numbers, though, 377 of those are self-referrals. Why is that important? It's because there is an inherent trust in the people who go through and work with lab, that they're dealt with confidentially, and everything that they do with, through lab is confidential. That trust took a long time to build up, and it's very important that we protect that. So I just want to put that out there, that the confidentiality and trust of the wide membership of our state bar is why that program is working so well. Of those open files, it's still the number one issue that they're dealing with is psychological issues. Number two, substance use. And number three, career issues. I think that hasn't changed for about probably the past year. One thing that they have really had to sort of pivot recently, echoing some of what Chief Justice Newby was telling us about this morning, is the incredible devastation in the out west and the effects it's had on the bar in general out there. They have lots of folks that they are helping out there, that they were frantic to make sure that they had to continue to help and confine. Fortunately, everybody was accounted for, but there is still a great deal post disaster that is going to be ongoing that they're going to be dealing with. I would recommend to you, if you haven't seen it, Robin Morades and Kathy Killian wrote an incredible article about sort of dealing with your own post-disaster grief, they call it, and from a lot of different angles. It's called it's on their website, Wide Winfield, and it was such a good article. Not only did I like it, but I sent it to many people, including my wife and several other non-lawyers, because it really speaks to not just what lawyers are dealing with, but just we as human beings are dealing with post-disaster. It was fantastic. Towards that end, those of you who are counselors in the affected areas, LAP will be reaching out to you here shortly. They're trying to put together programming that is directed towards the bar and how the bar will be handling post-Hudlin efforts to recover and some of the mental health issues that go along with this. So look out for that, who you are, because you're living with it every day right now. It'll be coming your way. Unfortunately, one of the things that happened as a result of the disaster also is that the LAP annual meeting that was scheduled for this weekend, which is such an important part of LAP. It celebrates and honors the hard work of the volunteers. It is largely a volunteer-run program. It's incredible. And there's over 200, or almost 200 volunteers, and it really is something they look forward to every year. Unfortunately, we had to cancel it because it was in Asheville, so we're looking forward to coming, doing that again next year. On a more positive note, a couple of folks have asked me about when the Minority Outreach Program is scheduled. It is scheduled for February 28th here in Raleigh again. It's popular every time. It's always informative, always a great, lot of camaraderie, and it's very helpful. Towards that end, I'd also like to thank you all and thank Robin, Candace, Kathy, Nikki, Delia, and Susie. They're the staff of LAP, and they're incredible. And finally, I'd like to thank Craig and Takia, who are also on the board with me. I want to say, while he's here, because he won't be here at the next meeting, I have one more meeting as the LAP board chair in January, but then I'll roll off. But I want to say to Evan how much I've appreciated his enthusiasm and encouragement for the LAP board. He got me interested in doing it, and it means a lot to him, to me. It means a lot to me. So thank you very much. That's the report of the LAP board.
All right, we shall now move forward with the committee reports. And we want to deal first with the minutes of the July 2024 Executive Committee meeting. And so the Executive Committee recommends to the Council the approval of the minutes of its July 19, 2024 meeting. And I would, guess that motion does not need a second. Coming from a committee, any questions about those minutes or any corrections? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now I'd like to call on Matt Smith to give us the reports from his committees. The first being the Finance and Audit Committee. Matt.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Finance and Audit Committee, the Executive Committee presented the following motions. First motion is to approve the third quarter 2024 financial statements. Those are in your materials. Make that motion.
It needs no second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next item is a motion to establish $300 as the annual membership fee for 2025. Of course, we have authority to go to $325. Is a recommendation to keep it at $300 for year 2025. Yeah, that wouldn't work.
I'll try.
No, no, it's simple.
I'll speak.
Better than that.
Motion for $300.
Coming from a committee that needs no second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Keep going. Can you hear me a little better now? No?
Yell like you
I'll just yell.
Okay. Motion to approve the execution of a revised engagement letter with the firm of Bernard Robinson Accounting Firm as the accounting firm for 2024 audit, which identifies Tina Smith as the principal of the firm assigned to the audit.
That motion needs no second. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes.
Next item is motion to approve the Client Security Fund Board of Trustees year-end financial statements and also the 2024-2025 budget. Those items are in your materials.
No second required. Any comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes.
Next item is motion to approve the Client Security Fund Board's recommendation that there be no fund assessment for 2025 and transmission of that recommendation to the Supreme Court for a final determination.
No second required. Any comments, questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Next is a motion to adopt a resolution approving amendment number 1-2024 to the State Bar's money purchase pension plan, appointing Peter Bolak as the new trustee.
No second being required. Any comments, questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries.
Next is a motion to adopt a resolution confirming that the October 8, 2021 indemnification resolution for the pension plan trustees applies to the newly appointed trustee and any future subsequent appointed trustees by the council.
No second required. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes.
Next is a motion to approve the amendments to the council's fiscal and operating policy, use of the State Bar building and building use agreement attached to the policy. To clarify, certain costs may be incurred by use of the building and to permit the executive director to allow use of the building during non-business use hours. That is in your materials.
No second required. Can you hear me? Thank you, Peter. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes, thank you. All right, I'll now call upon Matt to give us the recommendations of the Appointments Advisory Committee.
This would be from the committee, and what I'm going to ask to do, Mr. President, is for the appointments, I will do those in one slate, and then the chair and vice chair for each board in one slate, if that's acceptable. All right. Board of Continuing Legal Education, motion to reappoint Dayton Cole to a 3-year term, appoint Height Philbeck to a 3-year term, and appoint Rachel Beard to a 3-year term.
Requires no second unless someone wants to pull those individually. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries.
Next is to appoint Judge Ashley Parker to a 1-year term as chair and appoint Paul Capua to a 1-year term as vice chair.
No second required. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes.
Next is to the Board of Law Examiners, motion to reappoint Ron Baker to a 3-year term, Calvin Murphy to a 3-year term, and Ronald Gibson to a 3-year term.
Taking those collectively, no second is required. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes.
Next is to the Client Security Fund Board of Trustees, motion to appoint Ruth Edmondson to a 5-year term.
Any comments? No second required. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Next is to appoint Erica, it's still with Client Security Fund Board of Trustees, appoint Erica Jones to a 1-year term as chair, appoint Paul Capua to a 1-year term as vice chair.
Taking those collectively, no second is required. Hold on.
It's not Paul Capua.
Who is it?
Paul Capua was COE.
Give us 1 minute.
Please pause for these commercial words. Okay, we're gonna come back to that one.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. All right,
We'll come back to that. We'll refrain on the chair and vice chair of Client Security term. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take Erica Jones as chair.
The motion is from the Client Security Fund Board of Trustees, motion to appoint Erica Jones to a 1-year term as chair.
Jim Gibson.
All in, any questions about the motion to appoint Erica Jones to a 1-year term as chair? No second required. All in favor? Aye. That passes.
Now we're gonna try, how about appointing Jim Dorsett to a 1-year term as vice chair?
Motion requires no second. Any questions, comments about appointing Jim? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes now.
This is on the Board of Paralegal Certification. I think Mr. Hart probably needs to recuse himself.
It's not my refusal.
For the record, it is so noted.
Motion to reappoint Scott Hart to a 3-year term, reappoint S.M. Cornelius Hodges to a 3-year term.
Take those motions together. No second is required. Any comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Appoint Benita Powell to a one-year term on the board, serving as the chair, and appoint Precious Vines Harris to a one-year term, serving as vice chair.
No second required for those joint appointments. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Passed. No opposed, passes.
Next is Alta Board of Trustees, motion to appoint Judge John Arrowood to serve as vice chair effective immediately through August 31st, 2025.
Requires no second. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move on with the agenda. The next item on the agenda is meeting dates for the council in 2025. There's a motion of the executive committee to approve the following dates that are in your materials. Unless someone needs to have me read them, I will not. They're in your materials. That does not require a second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes. Well, now, call for a motion on the rule amendments that we dealt with in executive yesterday. Those are motions from the executive to the council on these rule amendments. The first being motion to approve for publication proposed amendments to the CLE rules to expand the types of live in-house programs that qualify for accreditation. The materials are in here on SharePoint. That is the motion required of a second. Any questions about that motion? All in favor? Aye. Speak up, speak up, speak up. All opposed? No, thank you. Next motion is to approve for publication proposed rule amendments to empower the DHC chair to review vexatious complainants designations of the grievance committee chair and to rule on requests to expunge or seal discipline orders of the DHC. That material, those materials are in your, those rules are in your materials. That motion requires no second. Any questions or comments about that motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes. The next motion is to approve the temporary authorization of the DHC chair to exercise the powers set forth in the proposed rule amendments to disciplinary rule .018A, 8, 9, and 10, which have been previously considered. Those rules are in your materials. No second is required. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes. The next motion is to publish revisions to the proposed rules, proposed amendments rather, to discipline rules to implement provisions of Senate Bill 790 that require the State Bar to produce certain records to a respondent to provide an opportunity for a respondent to address the grievance committee and to adopt a rule on expungement. Those rules are in your materials. The motion requires no second. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. The next motion is a motion to retract temporary rule .0136 approved by the council at the July 19, 2024 meeting, and to adopt revised rule .0136 as a temporary rule to implement the expungement process within the time frame required by Senate Bill 790. Those rules and materials are in your package as well. Requires no second. Any questions or comments about that motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The next two rules are proposed amendments for adoption and transmission to the Supreme Court. Yes. The first motion is a motion to adopt proposed amendments to the discipline rules to transmit the amendment rules to the Chief Justice and to the Chief Justice for approval. to deal with discipline and disability. They're in your materials. Does not require a second. Any questions, comments about that motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? The next motion is to adopt proposed amendments to the rules governing the specialization program for transmission to the Supreme Court for its approval. Those are in your materials also. Does not require a second. Any comments or observations? All in favor? Opposed? That passes. The next matter is with the inclusion of the Board of Law Examiners rules in the State Bar's title in the administrative code. Need a second on that? That's coming from executive as well. Okay. The motion is to approve the codification of the North Carolina Board of Law Examiners rules in Title 27 of the NC Administrative Code for transmission to the Supreme Court for its approval and its entry into the codified NCBLE rules into the minutes of the court. So let me rephrase that. I may have screwed it up. Motion to approve the codification of the North Carolina Board of Law Examiners rules in Title 27 of the North Carolina Administrative Code for transmission to the Supreme Court, North Carolina Supreme Court, for its approval and the entry of the codified NCBLE rules into the minutes of the court, which is the procedure. That is the motion. Does not require a second. Any questions about that motion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. That passes. I believe we can now proceed to the committee reports in order. And I will start and go in order. And I'll recognize Catherine Fry to give us the Access to Justice report.
All right, good morning. I know all of you have this at your table. If you all would do me a favor. Oh, can't hear me. Is that better? Yeah. If all of you will do me a favor, go back home and send this out to everyone in your judicial district, and then think about your social groups that you may be a part of, and whether or not it'd be appropriate to also send this out so that we can spread the word. I think this is a beautiful example of how we're protecting the public, how we are helping lawyers help the public, and how we've worked well with the judiciary as well. The other thing I would ask is if you would also put a note in January after we get past all the holidays and send it out again. Because as we heard on Wednesday, this is going to be an issue that'll be addressed for years. And so I think it's important, like most disasters, they stay in front of us for a couple of months and then they go away unless we're exposed to it. So I would ask you all just to keep this in mind, keep this great, short, beautiful form that Mary and Brian created, and try to disseminate that among your group of friends, lawyers, judges, social contacts, so that we can just get the word out how we can help. They did a great job of telling us how easy it was and how all of them were working together to help. So again, if you all would just push this information out. We learned about it on Wednesday, and I'm just glad we have this short form for everybody. And that's the report of Access to Justice, and we have no action items.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the Administrative Committee. Judge Rader to come up and give us a report.
All right, good morning, everyone. Administrative Committee met on Wednesday morning, and the full report is in your materials on page 3. Before I begin, I just want to say thank you to Tammy Jackson, Deborah Holland, and Peter for their support. We could not accomplish all that we do without their hard work, and that's greatly appreciated. Also want to take the liberty of mentioning in particular Deborah Holland. Many moons ago, I served about 6 years on the CLE board before I became a bar counselor. And that was my first opportunity to work directly with Deborah. And she is a highly competent professional and just a wonderful human being. And she has been fantastic to work with. And it's my understanding that she is leaving the state bar, retiring. As we used to say in the criminal law, she has a release date of December 6th. But that's after 41 years with the state bar. So if you see Deborah or talk with her, please thank her for all of her service. Committee met, we granted inactive status to 100 lawyers. 4 were granted contingent upon satisfying certain requirements. Between now and the January meeting, 4 were granted non-proton primarily because of medical reasons. 2 lawyers were granted emeritus pro bono status as inactive members. 16 lawyers were reinstated from an inactive status. 2 lawyers were granted or were reinstated from a suspended status and is complied with all the requirements. There were 2 petitions for relinquishment. Tammy is very good about having one-on-one conversations with anyone who files a petition for relinquishment to make sure they understand the difference between that and going inactive. But we do have 2 petitions for relinquishment. And then 7 out-of-state lawyers were granted pro bono practice status. And then finally, the list of 57 lawyers who are approved for suspension orders, that list is on page 8 and 9 of your materials. You'll notice it's significantly smaller, shorter than it was at our last meeting, which is a good thing. If you reach out to those lawyers in your district and urge them to comply, if they have questions about what they need to do to get into compliance, please have them call Kelly Beck, who's the Assistant Director for Membership and CLE Compliance. Also, if you see a lawyer on there that you know or have information about who resides in one of the western counties that may have been impacted by Helene, if you would reach out to Tammy Jackson or have that lawyer reach out to Tammy Jackson to address that. That is the report of the committee. Request approval by the council.
Thank you. That is a motion from the committee, and I do need a second for that because you've got to vote to approve it.
Second.
It's moved and seconded.
Seconds are always good.
I don't need a second from the committee, but in any event, that hurt.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Anna, no. Yes, authorized practice. Bobby, please come up and give us a report.
Thank you, President Brown.
Absolutely.
Good morning, everybody. The Authorized Practice Committee met on Wednesday morning. I want to first say thank you, as always, to Tessa and Lori and Ashley, as well as to Kia, Vice Chair. We considered 14 files. 7 letters of caution were issued for dismissals. We took no current action as to 1. And we voted to recommend to the executive committee to seek conjunctive relief against 2 respondents, and the executive committee yesterday adopted those recommendations. There are no action items for this committee. That is the report for authorized practice this quarter.
Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate the report. Now I would ask Anna to come up and give
report of the Communications Committee.
I know. Good morning, thank you. Communications met this week, and first I'd like to thank my Vice Chair, Daryl Davidson, and our two new employees at the State Bar, Phil and Ashley, who have greatly added to the productivity of the committee. We heard a report from publications, and upon discussing that and how publications and communications overlap sometimes, there was a discussion about possibly Matt Smith putting together an issues committee on whether or not maybe those two committees might consider merging or redefining themselves just to avoid overlap and to be more efficient for the bar. And basically then Phil gave us a presentation where we learned updates about our social media presence and analytics, what reach, engagement, and success rate all mean, and how we can hopefully increase that for the bar without having to pay for things with social media platforms, which would include, I guess, all of us liking our Facebook page and sharing if you'd like to. Basically, our largest presence these days seems to be on Facebook, but we do have a presence across different platforms. We got an update on the State Bar website. It continues to move forward. There were a few licensing matters that needed to be dealt with, but I think those have been handled and it's going to move forward. And we were given some examples of other state bars' annual reports just to look at, and you can see those in your materials if you'd like to look at, just to get ideas for ways that our annual report could borrow examples for future reports. And then lastly, I was perusing the minutes for the July communications meeting. I don't know why I was doing that, but I did it. And I noted that one of the things that we talked about in July was ways to help engage further with the public and our members would be to have reunions for past bar counselors, little mini reunions. And our class of 2024 is 13 members, and last night Clark Bell offered to host a reunion for us in Asheboro, which is fairly centrally located for the state, so I hope that we'll have that. And David Allen insisted that he pay for everything.
Good strike, Your Honor.
Motion denied. Thank you, Anna. We'll now hear from Judge Mitchell on ethics.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Everybody. Good morning, everyone. The Ethics Committee met on yesterday, and as always, we had a really good discussion. I first want to say thank you, as always, to Brian, Nicole, and Suzanne as our staff counsel who assist us. They do the real heavy lifting for us. And I want to thank all the members too, because you all do a lot of work in these subcommittees, and we have a lot of subcommittee meetings, and it's a lot of your time. And so I just want to thank you all for that. I also want to take this time, if I could, to please thank, and everyone, I would like for you to thank Lanice. We spoke about this on yesterday in our ethics committee meeting. Today is her last day. I'm super sad about that, and I know that any of you all who has interacted with Lanice, she is that smiling face and that warm spirit that I look forward to every time I come to these bar council meetings, and I know that a lot of you all probably share that sentiment with me. We're going to miss you, Lanice. I know, I think that's her back there. I want to make sure she's back. Yeah, so I just want to acknowledge that, and she is leaving. Today is her last day. And that, Lanice, we appreciate you for all the work that you put in. You did a lot of the heavy lifting for us at the Ethics Committee and other committees. And I want to make sure that we acknowledge you today. Thank you all for sharing that with me. And so to the business. We did consider, the Ethics Committee considered 8 items this quarter. We sent 4 back to subcommittee for further review. We have 2 advisory opinions that are issued, one regarding the notes section of Odyssey. I was hoping that Chief Justice was here to hear about that. but I'm sure he'll get the information later. One regarding the notes section of Odyssey, and then one regarding ethical considerations for lawyers in the wake of a natural disaster. And I want to give a shout out to Brian, Suzanne, and Nicole in regards to that as well. They really responded quickly in the wake of Hurricane Helene, and we appreciate them doing that because we want to make sure that we have face forward and presence, and they did that for us. And we also have one opinion that will be published this quarter, proposed FEO3, which is the agreement requiring payment of estate planning lawyers for future legal fees. And I do have one action item that is for adoption by this full council, proposed 2024 FEO1, use of AI in a law practice. Sir, that's my one action item, and I don't think that needs a second because it's coming from me.
That's correct.
Right?
All right. Everybody's got it now.
Yes.
Including me.
Yes.
Any questions, comments relative to that motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Kevin Williams, please come up and give us a report of grievance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to add my thanks to everyone in the Office of Counsel, with a special thanks to Jen Slatter. I'm not sure if Jen's here this morning, but she jumped in. We had Heather left the state bar, and so Jen stepped in and really just done a great job keeping all the communications between the committees going. And then we had some new procedures yesterday. For those of you non-agreements, you may not be aware, new legislation requires us to give respondents an opportunity to address the grievance committee. And so that went off without a hitch yesterday. We had a couple of folks here in person and then had some Zoom some respondents addressed the subcommittees by Zoom. So thanks to all. In advance of this quarterly meeting, there were 535 files dismissed by the chair and or the chair's delegates. And so those of you who helped me with some of those dismissals this quarter, thank you. There were 129 files dismissed by the chair and one of the vice chairs of the grievance committee. In total, including our meeting on Thursday, there were 9 files sent to the DHC, 11 to TAC, 1 to the Lawyers Assistance Program, 4 letters of caution, 6 letters of warning, 2 admonitions, 1 reprimand, and 1 censure. And that is the report for the grievance committee.
Thank you very much. I will now hear from Scott Hart. Tell us about the MET committee report.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, I have a lot less height than Lee Bachman with a lot more hair. Yesterday at 4 o'clock, while most of you were pre-gaming for the reception and while Matt was delivering his speech in the bathroom mirror, the Intrepid Lamp Committee met here at the State Bar Building. We heard from the military commands within our state, from the staff judge advocates, in addition to hearing from the North Carolina National Guard about what they are doing both within their ranks and in the western part of the state. It was inspiring. I encourage any of you that can come to the LAMP committee to do so as you hear from what the folks in our state are doing with military personnel that are here. It is absolutely remarkable. The one thing that I do want to mention to this body is that the annual Legal Access for Military Personnel CLE will be November 8th, beginning at 8 o'clock a.m. at North Carolina Central Law School. It has been approved for 6 general CLE hours. It is free to attend, although you will have to pay to park. And if anybody is interested in that, I encourage you to come, and also to let anybody in your district know there is also a reference to that on the State Bar's website. Special thanks to Ashley Ratliff and Jennifer Porter for assisting us, and I have no action items for this body at this time, and that is the report of the committee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. We'll ask Warren Savage to come up and give us the GSA report.
All right, thank you all very much. Before we go into closed session, I just want to say, let you know about the activity that happened last quarter and that's upcoming. I want to thank Todd and Matt for presenting 3 awards between them last quarter. Robert Wolf, Harry Crow, Clifton Barrett. I know a bunch of the other counselors also went to those. It's so important to do that if you can. When somebody's being presented with the DSA award in your district, it really shows how much it means to us at the State Bar. Upcoming, we got a bunch that are coming up. On Monday, David Long here in Raleigh. Brandy Vickery's coming up in November. Tricia Shields. Don Carroll down in Charlotte is coming up. Bert Kemp is coming up at the Pitt County Christmas party. I think about half of us ought to show up for that. It's fun. And Justice Edmonds will be the first of the year over in Greensboro. So those are all coming up, and we have a busy executive council. Of course, we bring Kevin on, so he'll be another option for presenting awards, right? There you go. All right, cool. I also wanted to say before we go into closed session, real quick, Suzanne, who is so fantastic as our staff person, I've become so close to her through this. I've known her through ethics, but it's been my pleasure to work with Suzanne on the DSA. She really believes in it and loves it as much as all of you. She's put together a list of the DSA award recipients and the different judicial districts and counties they come from. She's going to update it through this last ones we're doing today. And she's going to send it around, and I'm going to tell you to look on there and think hard about your own district. I'm going to say that this is not any indictment, but nobody from Newburn's ever gotten the DSA. I can't even believe it. Nobody from Burlington has ever gotten it, and Alamance County has ever gotten it. Nobody from 34th District, Ash, Wilkes, Allegheny, and Yadkin. I mean, it's just kind of amazing that, meanwhile, 24 people plus have gotten it in Raleigh. So let's really work hard to get that out and sort of fill in the places on the map that need to be represented in the DSA. With that, I gotta find my notes. I would like to move to go into closed session. Where are my notes? Pursuant to, here it is. I'd like to move to go into closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.11A2 to prevent premature disclosure of an honorary degree, scholarship, prize, or similar award.
Our homegrown committee, that needs no second. All right, moved and properly seconded that we go into executive session. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
This is my last time as chair of DSA, and I want to thank Todd and Marcy for having trusted me in this position, and mostly Barbara Christie, who I saw walk in, who originally thought of me to do this, and I just can't tell you how much it's meant to me. Also like to thank Alan Cobb, who's been one of the most active vice chairs on any committee you'll find. I really appreciate how much you've done for the DSA. And so with that, I would like to thank you, and I would like to advise that the committee is moving with approval of the executive committee, that the council approve the nominations of the lawyers, candidates A, candidate B, and candidate C, discussed in closed session for presentation of the John D. McMillan Distinguished Service Award, subject to our standard due diligence checks.
That is a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
Any questions of Warren? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much. And remember, no blabbing. Don't tell until they do the due diligence, sir.
Alan? Yes.
It's not, this is Warren's last report. It's not humble opinion that he is deserving of a loud round of applause.
All right, moving on, we will now recognize, as you heard, some of our departing, outstanding department members. I'll recognize the following employees who are retired or leaving the state bar for new employment or other opportunities by the end of the year. We certainly thank them for their dedicated service to the state bar and to the work of this council. I'll read the names in order and their position and years. You heard Deborah Holland, the Managing Director of CLE, with us for 41 years. Our own illustrious Alice Mai, Executive Director, with us for 31 years. Denise Mullen, Managing Director of Legal Specialization, 22 years. Lenise Hedrick, Lenise, Executive Assistant, as you heard, 15 years with the bar, and Barrett McNeil in the back, Deputy Counsel, and Security Fund Counsel. So, yeah, my service, 14 years. So those outstanding employees will be leaving us. We'll be honoring and celebrating them as we go forward. Alice, you want to say something about that? Just quickly.
I don't think you can hear me. I'm like doing a lot of swan songs thinking, so I don't really want to add anything. I understand.
Not for you. There'll be a separate celebration for Alice, to which all of you will be invited, but she wants to speak about.
I can go on and on about these employees. I wanted you all to realize how many years of service these people represent. It's really pretty incredible. And it's been my experience that our employees come and they stay because it's a pretty good place to work. I think we have a pretty good culture. But I also think they have meaningful work to do. And they come here and they start to understand and believe in it and want to advance it. And so it's a really important thing that you do, and it's really important that you have great employees. And it's my experience since the moment I walked in the door is that there's always been great employees at the State Bar helping to get your work done. So we're losing 3 great ones, did I count them all? 4 great ones in the next few weeks, and if you do reach out to them individually, that would be so nice. But we're also, and I know Peter is totally on board with this, in finding even more great employees to come and fill those holes. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Alice. Again, more to come on Alice's celebration that will occur later. So that concludes my agenda. Is there any further business to come before the body?
Mr. President, I have some business to come before the body. No.
All right, the floor is yours, Ms.
Thank you. It is my honor and privilege to present before this body a resolution of appreciation for A. Todd Brown.
All that.
Okay, that. Whereas A. Todd Brown was elected by his fellow lawyers from Judicial District 26 in 2013 to serve as their representative in this body, and he was thereafter re-elected counselor for 2 successive 3-year terms. And whereas in October 2021, Mr. Brown was elected vice president, and in October 2022, he was elected as president-elect, and on October 27th, 2023, he was sworn in as president of the North Carolina State Bar. And whereas during his tenure with the North Carolina State Bar, Mr. Brown served on the following committees and boards: Ad hoc Committee on Rules 1.3 and 8.4D, Ad hoc Trust Accounting Committee, the Administrative Committee, including his chair, the Appointments Advisory Committee, including his vice chair and chair, Communications Committee, Disciplinary Review Committee 2, Ethics Committee, Executive Committee, including vice chair and chair, Finance and Audit Committee, including vice chair and chair, Grievance Committee, including vice chair and chair, Issues Committee, including as vice chair and chair, Special Litigation Committee, Special Committee to study amendments to the ABA model rules on advertising, Special Subcommittee on Regulatory Change, and Special Subcommittee on Diversity and Inclusion, including as chair. And whereas at his investiture, President Brown movingly, humbly, and with incredible candor, shared the story of his upbringing in severely impoverished rural community in South Carolina, where he lived with 7 family members in a 4-room house without running water or indoor plumbing for years. As he described, throughout my childhood, the stigma of poverty was alive and well in our house and our community. President Brown shared his personal story not as a rags to riches tale, intended to impress, but in order that the council might better understand who he is, his values, and the significance to his life of education and the unconditional love of his mother. Whereas, recognizing that the critical work of the State Bar to regulate the legal profession in the best interest of the public cannot be accomplished without dedicated, capable, and motivated staff, President Brown demonstrated his unfailing support for the staff by encouraging a comprehensive study of the salary structure of the State Bar. When the results of the study demonstrated that many employees were underpaid, he embraced and promoted the 2024 budget, which to rectify these disparities. The appropriation for salaries was increased substantially over the previous years to the great appreciation of the staff and to the benefit of the council, the legal profession, and the public the staff serves. And whereas President Brown's extensive experience as managing partner of the Charlotte office of Hunt & Andrews & Kirk, a large international law firm, enabled him to provide insightful management and financial guidance to the administrators of the State Bar, and his good business sense shined through all of his actions as State Bar President. And whereas perhaps the single greatest challenge during President Brown's tenure was the management of the State Bar's response to legislation in the 2023-2024 budget, bill authorizing the appointment of the State Bar Review Committee to examine the rules and procedures governing the State Bar's disciplinary process. With the Review Committee in the legislature, President Brown set a tone of cooperation and engagement, encouraging State Bar staff to work with defense lawyers to present proposals to the committee for improving the disciplinary process that were acceptable to all. President Brown demonstrated his support of the State Bar's disciplinary program and his staff by traveling from Charlotte to be front and center, observing all meetings of the committee in the Legislative Office Building in Raleigh. The recommendations of the committee that were embodied in the legislation are currently being implemented with the hope that will ultimately prove beneficial to the disciplinary process. And whereas the disciplinary function of the State Bar were also advanced by President Brown's support of 2 initiatives of the Issues Committee that promote education and rehabilitation over discipline, the consolidation of the Trust Account Compliance Program and the Random Audit Program to create one Trust Account Compliance Department within the Office of Counsel that will enable a coordinated focus on providing education and resources in lieu of discipline to lawyers with trust account management problems, and the creation of a self-directed deferral program that engages the respondent lawyer in the design of deferral that will address the lawyer's professional deficiencies, thereby providing the Grievance Committee with alternative ways to address professional misconduct, while also providing the respondent lawyer an opportunity to acknowledge the conduct and take affirmative steps to improve. And whereas President Brown continued his predecessor's commitment to improving communications and engagement with stakeholders and constituents of the State Bar, selflessly traveling across the state to present 5 John B. McMillan Distinguished Service Awards, to hold district bar meetings and a special meeting of the district bar presidents, and to address the Superior Court judges at their conferences. And whereas President Brown was not prone to rash decisions or snap judgments, showing exceptional diligence in reading everything given to him for consideration or review, comma, making helpful suggestions for improvement, comma, and always finding the typos, semicolon, and. Whereas President Brown oversaw the peaceful transition of the management of the State Bar, helping to ensure that the positions of the State Bar Council and Executive Director were filled by the next generation of great lawyer leaders. And whereas President Brown accomplished the proceeding while being a nominee for special Superior Court judgeship, and in the least political of ways, consistent with his humility, temperament, and quiet competence, endured the politics of obtaining the appointment. The counselors and staff have no doubts that the judicial system of North Carolina will be better for his service on the bench. And whereas President Brown always answers the question, "How are you?" with a simple gesture, "Doing fine, can't complain," thereby demonstrating his incomparable people skills. He never brings his personal problems to the table, always shows respect for everyone he encounters, and unfailingly expresses appreciation for the efforts and talents of others, especially members of the State Bar staff. And whereas he exchanges his presidential breeches for a black robe, President Brown's grateful proteges raise their glasses for a splash, preferably of excellent cap, to salute the 89th president of the State Bar, who went from wingman to pilot without a hiccup, and to the consummate wisdom, pragmatism, kindness, and humanity he brought to the service as president of the State Bar. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the North Carolina State Bar does hereby with deep appreciation express to A. Todd Brown its debt for his personal service to the State Bar, to the people of North Carolina, and to the legal profession, and for his dedication to the principles of leadership, integrity, professionalism, and equality. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be made a part of the minutes of the annual meeting of the North Carolina State Bar, and that a copy be delivered to A. Todd Brown. And by the way, that's a motion that does require a second.
Any discussion? I'll simply say, as I said before, serving as a counselor and with the most outstanding folks in the state, alongside the wonderful and outstanding officers and staff of the State Bar, it's been a highlight of my career. As I said, I've done well in life, but serving here for the last 14, 15 years has allowed me to see where law is really practiced. It's not where I practice, it is where you guys practice in your various communities. And I'll say again, it has made me a better lawyer and a better person, and I thank you all for that. And I don't believe there's any I in team, and so we've all done whatever little bit I've done together. I'll say this and I'll shut up. My simple goal, which has always been my goal, is I have been president of several organizations. I say it all the time, is simply to try to leave the place better than I found it. And I have done my best to do that. I left it on the field, as they say. And whether I succeed, I leave for you all to debate. But thank you all for everything that I've accomplished here, and I could not have done it without your help. So thank you all very much. Now to the very best part of my time here. I'd now like to pass the gavel to our next president, Matt Smith.
Thank you. I'm not going to say anything more than I did last night, but I have been looking forward to this next part with great anticipation. Marcy, leave. Go get Kevin. And while she's doing that, this part I don't like. Alice, go get Peter. Nothing personal, Peter. I can't quite accept a motion to adjourn next because, as some of you know, we have like a nice little script up here. It basically, and this is a direct quote, and Catherine can confirm, Marcy and Alice, friends, after some foolishness, close friends, sit in the audience. So whatever foolishness. That's the high dollar stuff. She's done that before. She's done
Flashes for everyone. Well, that's not all you'll get.
The president will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Good job. How about we have a motion and then a second? Got a motion, Mr. Allen?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Y'all be safe going home. We're off track.
Yeah, got it done.